Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to split my inheritance with my adopted siblings? My aunt sent me here for an unbiased opinion. I'm a 20F. I was 5 when my parents divorced, 8 when my father passed unexpectedly, 10 when my mom remarried a guy who was a single father of 4 kids, who she eventually adopted. I watched her play mother to these children, while I got the short end of it. I was a troubled teen. I even got pregnant at 14, and was kicked out on the streets by my mother and stepfather. My aunt's Italian maternal grandfather were in my corner for everything, especially my aunt. I consider her my mom and her kids my siblings. Everything I wished my mom had done for me, my aunt has and more. Her kids consider me their sibling and vice versa. She even had a college fund put to the side for me, which I'm on track of graduating from nursing school in the next year. She's never made me feel like me or my child are a burden. She's always treated me like I'm one of her children. Nor is she afraid to make me fall in line when I'm in the wrong. Lol. I honestly think the world of her, and I don't know where I would be without her. She was previously in the military, but once learning had been put out, she left the military for good to help me raise my daughter. She also encouraged me to forgive my mother and try to build a relationship with her at my own pace, which I have done. It's not the greatest, but it's better than what it used to be. I even spend the nights with her and her family sometimes. I lost my grandfather last year. Mom and Aunt Italy have the same mother but different fathers. I was left the majority of his estate, which will set me for life. My mother approached me and asked me, more like assumed, how much I planned to give my adopted siblings, because my grandfather hadn't left them anything. I told her that I wasn't. That if anyone deserved anything it would be my aunt and my real siblings. Though I know they would never accept anything from me. I told my mom that her kids weren't my siblings. I don't really have a relationship with them, and they have their shady ways. She called me a selfish little something that rhymes with bunt. She and her family started harassing me, which upset me. My aunt Italy found out and paid her a visit. I don't know what transpired, but the harassing texts and calls stopped. I asked my aunt was I in the wrong. She told me no, that it was my decision, what I wanted to do with my money, but that I shouldn't F it off on people who wouldn't do the same for me. I can't help but feel that maybe I'm cheating my adopted siblings out of an inheritance. Am I being selfish? Am I the antagonist? Your grandfather would have left money to his children if he had wanted them to inherit any of it. You are not obligated to see that they receive compensation for his passing. Your relatives has made themselves known to you. Don't be a fool and withhold any money from them. Comment by team member Cody. Now for the top comments. Your grandfather decided what to do with his estate. He made the decision. He was the one who didn't like what his child, your mother, did to you, so this is how he rectified how you were treated. Shame on your mother and stepfather for throwing you out at such a young age. They gave up on you and washed their hands of you, you know, instead of actually being the adults and helping you figure all this out. Shame on them. Block your mother. Take a break from them. Get a new number, hug your aunt and her family. Good luck. NTA. This is the perfect answer. Please do not feel badly. You are 100% not the a-hole. NTA. You owe them nothing. If it were me, I would do something really awesome for the aunt. Am I the antagonist for adding a but to my apology to my girlfriend's son? My 30 male girlfriend, 26F, of over 2 years has a 5-year-old son who I'll call Luke. He's a really good kid who I like a lot. But, like any 5-year-old boy, sometimes he can be a bit much. Anyway, the other day I was at her place. For some reason we ended up semi-binging old episodes of Everyone Loves Raymond. It wasn't an inappropriate show for Luke, but probably not something he would be interested in. Usually when his mom and I hang out and watch TV or movies, he just plays with his toys in his bedroom, with his mom checking in on him every so often. But for whatever reason the show somewhat interested him and he wanted to watch it with us. This was no problem. But Luke kept going in and out of bouts of quietly watching with us and then wanting to yell and play. I was actually really enjoying watching the show, so his distractions were getting irritating. I told him a couple of times gently and politely to stop. Finally, after a while, I sort of snapped at him and said, "Luke, we're watching the show. Either shut up and sit down and watch it with us, or go play in your room." His mom immediately turned to me and gave me the stink eye, but I knew that I'd screwed up. I felt terrible. Luke started crying loudly and went off to his room. My girlfriend told me, "You'd better go and apologize to him right now." I told her I know and slunk off to his bedroom. I carried him off into the living room and said, "Hey, buddy, I'm really sorry for yelling at you. I shouldn't have done that, but try to listen from now on. Alright?" He nodded and hugged me and went back to his room. I thought it was a nice apology, but my girlfriend just glared at me and said there should have been no but. He really looks up to you, and you told him to shut up. It should have been nothing but an apology from you. But I told her that he needs to understand that while I was wrong, Luke was also wrong for not listening, and that it's good for him to know that my reaction didn't just come out of the clear blue sky, so that he can start to get a sense of boundaries. When the kid wants to play and interact with you both, you and your girlfriend are both terrible for binge watching TV from a decade ago. You need to have heeded the warning that the child required real quality time and not just being neglected so that you could watch TV. Comment by team member Jordan. Now for the top comments. Boundaries? Boundaries for a 5-year-old is don't jump on the sofa. Not leave your mom and me alone for hours and stay quiet. Seriously. Sounds like you managed to update the classic children should be seen, but not heard, so in the vibe of going back to Victorian times. You sir, are truly an asshole itter. Yes, I don't think it's reasonable to expect a 5-year-old to play quietly alone in his room while his parents watch multiple sitcom episodes. I'm a parent of kids 3 and 10, and sometimes you get to watch the episode without too much interruption, and sometimes you don't. Them's the breaks. Itter. You don't sound emotionally mature enough to be dating someone with a child. Expecting to binge watch a TV show and have a 5-year-old quietly entertain himself and not interrupt you is ridiculous. He was just being a 5-year-old kid and you shouted at him. I once ended a relationship BC my then toddler son wanted to show my ex something he made while my ex was watching TV and my ex told him to go away. The sadness in my son's eyes made me lose all feelings for that guy. I hope your girlfriend sees this as the red flag it is. Am I the antagonist for taking the cake I baked for my fiance's birthday and going home? Me F25 and fiance male 31 Ben's mom don't have the best relationship. I try my best to be polite around her, but she's the type that'd have high standards expectations of whoever dates her sons. She has 3. She's commented on my hair and body several times, and at some point, suggested cosmetic surgeries for the future. This upsets me, but Ben tells me this is who she is, and I need to learn to have a thick skin since oftentimes, she doesn't really mean to be malicious. Anyways, I'm known for baking cakes and sweets. Ben eats what I make, but whenever I bring something to his family to try they find every excuse in the world not to eat it. I'm okay with that and stop doing it. For Ben's 31st Street birthday, his mom wanted to host the party. I decided to bake him his birthday cake and he was thrilled with it. I went grocery shopping, took time off work, and put so much effort into making it how he likes it. I took it with me to his mom's house, and to my surprise, when I walked in I saw a large birthday cake sitting at the dining table. I was puzzled. Mother-in-law said she requested this cake from the bakery and paid XXX money for it. I asked what about the cake I've made? She responded, oh, you can place it on the counter over there and we'll let the kids have it. This felt like ice was dropped all over me. I looked at Ben and he nodded at me in a just do it way. I was so mad and the cake was still in my hands at the time. I turned around and made my way to the door. His mom remained standing, but Ben followed me asking where I was going. I told him that he didn't need my cake, and by extension me, since my efforts were so easily dismissed and disrespected. He said I was overreacting, and that his mom paid so much for that cake, and it was only fair that he accept it. He begged me to get back inside and do him this favor by basically just go with the flow, but I decided to go home. He got mad and started saying I was being unreasonable and stirring drama over nothing. I went home and he didn't get back till 11 p.m. He was so upset he said he and his family didn't appreciate the childish behavior I displayed and ruining his party and disrespecting his mom like that. Said I turned this into a huge deal and should acted more maturely instead of walking out with the cake. Am I the antagonist for taking the cake and walking out? That was absolutely an asshole move on her part if she was aware of it and approved of you making it. Fourth contrast to simply sharing the table with a purchased cake. It was at best a complete contempt for the effort you put in. At worst, it was a ploy to demonstrate your insignificance. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. NTA. The fact that your future husband is telling you to just accept his mom's bullshit with a smile and then gets mad at you when you don't is very telling. If you marry him, this is just going to grow over time. Just let mom decide our children's name. Just let her decide where we live. Just let her decide how to furnish our house. Op doesn't have to make a decision for the rest of that relationship. What a lovely life. /s edit. Thank you so much for the award. NTA. Please don't marry this man. Run far. Far away and bake your cakes for someone who chooses you, not their mom. You deserve it. That's a potential mother-in-law from hell waiting to happen. And Ben is not even trying in the least to take back his fiancée. It's gonna be a disaster by all indications. NTA. Opus. Am I the antagonist for refusing to take my son to visit his dad? I have an agreement with my ex that I'll fly our son to him 3 times a year. Honestly, our arrangement was working pretty well until my last visit. His brother jokingly told me that if my ex wanted to, he could keep me and our son there and I wouldn't be able to stop him. He mentioned it multiple times in front of my ex, who never denied it. And now I feel paranoid and I don't want to go back. My ex wanted to know when we would be coming next and I told him we wouldn't be and he should come here to see our son instead. This caused a huge fight because him going back on our agreement. He said his brother was just joking and I was acting crazy. Am I the antagonist? They sound crazy when they say, if my ex wanted to, he could keep me and our son there and I wouldn't be able to stop him. He can speak with his sibling if he has an issue. Hire an attorney. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. NTA. Saying it once is a joke though not funny. That sounds more like intent. Keep your child safe. This once is an awkward, inappropriate joke that your ex should shut down immediately and apologized for his brother being an offensive moron. Repeatedly making that unchallenged joke is called making threats. NTA. In the U.S. state where I live, it is pretty common to be able to schedule a cheap or free consult with an attorney in order to determine if you want to retain the attorney. You should also report this to child services or the police. It needs to be documented. I'm not a cop, so the following is an unofficial guess, but I believe that the police are unlikely to take immediate action since your ex is out of state. I believe they would just document the situation. Right? It's not that hard for the ex to tell his brother to TIFU. He didn't even do that, so something shady is up and likely to not end well. Am I the antagonist for publicly humiliating someone by calling out their fake service dog? I, 27F, work at a nature preserve that explicitly forbids bringing in any dogs that aren't service dogs. This is for both safety reasons as the park is full of wild alligators and venomous snakes that are frequently on the trail paths, and because dogs can easily disturb or harm wildlife. The park has many signs explaining this to visitors, but people still bring dogs all the time and it's become an intense pet peeve of mine. No pun intended. I was preparing to lead a guided hike the other day and passed by an older man in the parking lot with a large dog that was barking at my group. I politely told him that dogs weren't allowed on the trails, to which he responded not on the trails, despite obviously preparing to take his dog for a walk down one. I replied that he was fine in the parking lot then, but absolutely could not take his dog on a trail. He lost it and started loudly accusing me of breaking federal law by denying his service dog access to a public space. I asked him what tasks the dog performed since it wasn't wearing a vest, and he said it was an emotional support animal. A group was beginning to gather to watch the scene, but by this point I was pissed off and told him that an AITA is not a legally protected service animal and has zero rights to access public spaces where dogs aren't allowed. I repeated that he would not be permitted to use the trail until he took his dog home, and he cussed me out, called me an obelisk, and left. Today I found out that he emailed the park superintendent to complain about me, saying that I publicly humiliated a disabled veteran for no reason, and demanding I be punished for discriminating against him. My job isn't in trouble or anything, but my boss isn't very familiar with service dog access laws and thinks I should have just let it go. I have a close friend with a service dog who regularly suffers because of people bringing their untrained pets into spaces where they aren't allowed and distracting hers from performing its service tasks. So I realize I might have a bias here too. Am I the antagonist? A properly trained service dog and an emotional support animal are two completely different things. Because a company owner may have had a negative experience and expect to see official documents or a vest, which is not required. Fake service dogs hurt real service dogs. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. NTA. Service dogs are specifically trained and are a legal right, whereas anyone can claim to have an AITA. If he is a veteran and genuinely does need one, he can contact Veterans Affairs who can point him towards getting one that is trained specifically for him. One that can detect when panic attacks or PTSD attacks are about to onset and can force him to sit down and stay with him until the attack passes. One of my friends used to do security for small cons around the state because she seemed to be the only one who knew how to spot a fake service dog while everyone else was terrified of getting sued. Literally all you have to do is see how well trained a dog is. Barking, pulling, weaving around, growling, not listening to owner. Or, her personal favorite, going to the restroom in the middle of a walkway. All signs of non-service dogs. Most of the time she just needed to ask if it was a service dog. 80% of the time they were honest, and it wasn't, and she just had to tell them dogs weren't allowed on the con floors and they would apologize because they didn't know. 10% it was a real service dog, but the other 10% it was combative people who insisted their peeing dog that was constantly barking was a service dog. NTA. AITAs have their place, but they do not have the same protections as actual service dogs trained to perform tasks to aid people with disabilities. If he needs an AITA to go to a purely recreational place, he should just not go. Am I the antagonist for refusing to Cosign for my brother's house? The title pretty much says it. My brother, M34, asked me, M36, to Cosign on his house that he is having built. He is supposed to close on it at the end of the month, and only asked me on Thursday. He is even offering to give me money to put towards my own house when I decide to buy one. The way I see it, no amount of money is going to matter if no lender would give me a mortgage. My credit is also pretty good, and I don't want to have a mortgage on my report for a house I've only seen once. I've also asked my wife and a couple coworkers, and all of them have said not to do it. I was just wondering. Am I the antagonist here? Edit. Thank you for all the advice and comments. I really appreciate it. I do feel less guilty about refusing to do it. He texted me a few hours ago telling me he's probably going to end up losing the house. No contractors that I'm aware of would agree to build a house without a financing commitment. The urgency of your brother's plea doesn't pass the sniff test. Defend your position. Except for your own children for their first apartment. Never Cosign for anyone. Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. NTA. Never cosign for a house that's not yours. You will be stuck with the payments if this goes sideways. That's exactly what my wife said. NTA. If he has the money to build his own home and give you money towards your own home, why does he need a cosigner? I'm not really sure. I'm thinking his credit isn't as good as it needs to be. The builder just told him he needs a cosigner and our dad can't do it.